All right, I think we're live. At least we're as live as we're gonna get right now. Did I hit that? I went to right place. I don't see anybody on here. Mildly interesting. Let's see where this thing go to. All right, no, I see 7 of you watching. Okay, so I'm just not seeing any comments or reactions come through. So today is, what is it, January 6th, 9 o'clock in the morning Pacific time, and I'm out here in Las Vegas for CES and meeting a bunch of other companies doing IoT stuff as well. So IoTex is out here. They're here last night, hanging out with the crews from HiveMapper and Demo, seeing a couple of Pollen folks. So yeah, lots of good stuff going on in the space. All right, Neil, let me see if I can get you in here. I just see you coming in now. You got your package, huh?
No, I haven't. So if you see me run off, you know what it is.
Okay, cool. See if I can get you centered there. We haven't. Were you on the last one? I feel like I haven't seen you.
No, I haven't been on for a while.
No, you've been busy, huh?
Busy coding.
Yeah.
Coding. So
That's been crazy. So let's see. This is the new year. We got a ton of stuff going on in kind of helium and the greater Tippin space. But what's going on in your world, dude? You got some cool news.
yeah, I mean we're developing out Trackpac now, and we're looking into the future. And one of the things that we're looking at is, can we ditch the GPS? Now, if we waited for a world where hotspots had the new concentrator, the new secure concentrator,
Yep.
we wouldn't need to ditch the GPS. We could use time of flight to work out where things are in a world, but we're not going to be in that state for a while. And one of the things we're looking at is using AI and trilateration or multi-trilateration
Very
to just
fancy.
work out where things are. So, for instance, you could send a door sensors uplink and know where it is, because you don't need the GPS as long as you've got multi-packets on, and that multi-packet is more than 3 or 4. We could tell you where it is.
Yep. And
Um,
trilateration is just taking the time of flight from 3 different hotspots, or is it something?
It literally works out. You look at the signal strength of each hotspot that reports in for the uplink, and then you can work out, well, it can only be in said range.
Yep.
The basic principle is we got 3 circles, 3 different hotspots. Where those 3 points meet is where the sensor's likely to meet.
Oh, cool.
But
Okay.
in reality, there's a lot more to it than that. If we know the signal strength is minus 127, it can't be 10 meters in front of the hotspot. So it's more like a donut shape.
Yep.
We're taking those donut shapes and putting them together. We're then also feeding it through TensorFlow AI
Yep.
to improve the accuracy more.
Yep.
And we've got this huge data set of like 2 million records that we can just pump this thing through and just get really accurate results. So we published an article today, but this is really how we get Apple AirTag like devices on the Helium network.
Yeah.
And I'm
Shit, I meant
talking,
to put that link in the description, and I forgot. I just put
yeah,
a link straight to Trackpac.
yeah, and
Yep.
I'm talking like these coin cell battery operated trackers that could last for a stupidly long time. And they'd just be so easy to use, so cheap to manufacture. I mean, the parts on these things are looking like, if we can do bulk orders, then we can get this thing for under $10 a tracker,
That's
which is just
bananas.
insane.
Yeah.
Which is just insane.
Yeah. Let's see. Jay's asking. So actually, there's a bunch of people coming on. Good to see everybody. Good to see all the usual suspects here, and Jay and Bobby and Adrian and Travis and the rest of you. I'll go through the list too. But this is the first one. Is it adding redundancy or is it replacing GPS totally?
There's 2 ways to look at it, and the way I look at it is that, one, when you're indoors or you have very low GPS accuracy, this could supplement the data and improve it. So, for instance, when you first turn the tracker on or you move inside a building, the accuracy go right down because it hasn't got that many satellite connections.
Mm-hmm.
But the likelihood is that you will be able to hit hotspots just like you normally would. So you could use that data to improve an existing system. But yeah, I think the long-term goal is for us to have no GPS, just because it just means that you can get this device so small, and not needing a GPS, and just have stupid battery life on it, which is great.
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, that's the promise of this IoT stuff. Oh, there's a fucking phone ringing here somewhere. I don't know what that is. I'm in a hotel room, so something's like buzzing in the background. I don't think you're picking it up or not. But that's the promise of IoT, right? Is that this thing
hmm
just works. It's got super long battery life. It does all the things.
Yeah, exactly. It's so exciting that we're in a world where people are starting to look at the hardware and what's possible. You know, we've known that threat sensors are going to be available for a while now, but
I'm
you know,
gonna find this fucking thing. There we go. Come on. It turns out to be the alarm clock. The best way to turn that off is to just unplug it.
Yeah, we know a lot of these things can be really cool. That we could put. You've got another one going off as well.
Good God.
Chances of that. Someone definitely wanted
really
to wake up.
to get up this morning. Oh my God. Oh, that thing's probably gonna blow up here. What a fucking mess. I don't know what that is or how to turn that off.
Be a rock star and just throw it out the window.
Yeah, I'm not sure that they'd appreciate that, or that I'd be that psyched on that. All right, I think that seems to have done it. It really didn't like being unplugged.
Yeah, so what I was saying is, you know, we've known that there's so much that you can do with the Helium network, but the hardware's kind of been lacking for a while now. You know, there's just the pre-existing stuff that's designed for fixed place gateways in businesses. But now we've got a world where, you know, I want to track my cat, or I want to track a pallet, or I want to track even waste bins or skips and things. And we need to change how they're powered and things like that. And it's just great to think that AI would enable us to lose a GPS, so indoor tracking is a reality, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, someone mentioned in the comments, yeah, GNSS is a lot better. GNSS is a mix of satellites and ground stations.
Yep.
Obviously, it's a ton better, but you're still relying on talking quite a distance, whereas, you know, we're then sending an uplink to say where you are, whereas we just have to send the uplink, which is a way less battery usage. So it's good, but...
and it's more like horses for courses, you know? Like, you're not going to use this thing to run a tractor down a 1 centimeter variation down a field. You're definitely going to use GNSS for that, something like GeoNet. But for what you're doing, it's just like a different application. I think that's one of the things that is, Neil, that I've found in this thing is that, you know, we find a new thing and we're like, oh, let's use this for everything. And it's like, no. Like,
No.
We're going to use a nuclear reactor where a nuclear reactor is appropriate. We're going to use a gas tank where a gas tank's appropriate, and et cetera, et cetera. So, super
Exactly.
cool you building this.
Yeah, and we want to put, you know, these kind of trackers in people's pockets and on bikes and things, but there's another level to it as well, and we've talked about it before on here. Proof of location, proof of presence. That is massive. It's an idea that, you know, is a bit beyond us, in the terms of it's going to be a few years before we develop something, but there's some real tokenomics to that. What you can do with proving something is where it says it is, and, you know, it can't be faked.
Yeah.
I mean, I always think of systems like home care. If you get home care, you can know that the employee was actually there, and how long they were present of being there, and that changes people's lives. You know, they can't fake it. Or with GPS, you can generally fake. You know, you can send it bad signals and tell it somewhere else, but
spoof it,
where we're on this decentralized network where they can't control who hears it, they just can't, and it's just Helium opens up this real world use case. I think that's what a lot of crypto needs right now, right? Not the promise of data, but actual data usage, real world physical usage.
Yep.
I think Helium's like one of the main people in that space at the moment. It's just exciting to be leading the charge almost, you know?
It's bananas, yeah. And I always laugh about it, Neil, because you and I have been talking about this for a long time. I mean, you've been building this hardware solution for a while. Like, hardware is hard and it takes a long time. But it cracks me up. Like, we've been open about it. Like, this is where the opportunity is. This is what we're doing. This is the deal. You got your delivery guy there?
No, I was just checking.
And I still don't see kind of. Like, I think the opportunity is going to pass a lot of people by. Because in, what is it, Henry Ford's words, like, good fortune is dressed in overalls and looks a lot like work. Like, it's just, there is a fair amount of work that goes into this thing. But yeah, this is all happening right now.
It'll take a while. I mean, we'd known there's going to be a lag from it when we first joined. We always knew there was going to be a lag to this kind of tech coming out. We're just getting to the end of that lag period, so we'll start seeing solutions.
Yeah.
We're seeing Hive Mapper really rolling out. We're seeing GeoNet and things like rolling out in a crazy way, and
Yep.
you planning to use the Helium network. But yeah, it's just growing and growing. I love that comment in the last video that roaming on Helium is now the biggest producer of DC. So
Dude, that was
existing
crazy.
systems.
Yeah, that was bananas.
Yeah, I love that. It surprises me that that's not shouted about.
Yeah.
We will see more helium-related traffic, but it's just there is a lag to it. But now we're seeing existing hardware say, yeah, this helium network is right for use.
Yeah.
It's kind of justifying, right?
Yeah. No, it's there, and I think, no, it's crazy just to see all the stuff that's going on. I saw Siegfried is asking, is there anything going on in CES? I'm here in Las Vegas to check out CES and see what's going on. Yeah, it's just like this whole space is blowing up on the builder side, and it's like this, I don't know, it's like this underground explosion that everybody up on the surface is like, hey, did you hear that rumble? Like, no, let's go get a hot coffee. And underground, like, there is giant shit going on. There is crazy projects building. Like, I talked to some dude yesterday who's building, was like proof of machine work. So just like connecting all machines everywhere. Talked to the IoTex guys. They're building their own blockchain for anyone to come in and jump, throw IoT stuff on. In fact, after this, I'm going to some meeting that they've got with a bunch of different companies that are doing the same kind of thing. So I think across the board, there's a ton going on. The tough part is, as you said, like the companies aren't really shouting about it because they're all like engineers and geeks. They're not marketing people.
Well, I think half of that is, we're severely underfunded.
Yeah.
One thing that I've spent a lot of time doing is talking to sensor providers and service providers on the Helium network in private, and they're all screaming for funding.
Yeah.
They're desperate. It's not like they have the budget to go put a PR out or attend a conference and really show this tech. It really is a case of a lot of them need funding to kind of take it to the next level to grow.
Yeah.
And it's difficult. Everyone in crypto right now is not well funded. You know. If I'd have asked you to write a check for quite a lot of money a year ago, you probably would.
Yeah,
if I asked you to do it right now,
we're both looking at the same project, and it's like, fuck it, I'll just throw whatever it was, 25 grand at this thing, because it wasn't like I'd ever made that. It was just magic money from crypto that I got lucky.
Exactly. We all had money and a source of funding to start up some really cool ideas, but right now it's very, very low. And I think that the network as a whole needs more venture capital in to help us take it to the next level. I think that's why I produce articles like I've just produced there. It's so important for people to see what's possible in the future with funding,
Yeah, no, it's an interesting, the whole thing's interesting. One thing that I should actually run this by you in public is I got approached by, God, I don't know if they're going to want me to say their name. Got approached by folks who I trust their hardware expertise, and they're like, hey, we want to do a Gristle King off-grid miner that incorporates a bunch of different projects. So the kind of general idea that we're kicking around is that it's got Helium on it, it's got WeatherXM, it's got GeoNet, there's one more. Oh, maybe like an air quality thing that we'll do. But it's interesting as I kind of kick the idea around with Max. It's like the token side doesn't really add up just because the token earnings are down right now. But the core idea is that everybody in this space, or not everybody, but a lot of people in this space have learned how to do a great job on deployment. How do we leverage that knowledge and add to this kind of widening piece of all of these different IoT things, not just the.
No, I'm totally with you.
Yeah. Let's see what else. We got the off-gridders got caught in Utah. I think you saw that video where those guys are putting up a bunch of off-grids on mountaintops. Yeah. I can't tell you how many texts and DMs and Twitters and whatever else I got. Like, hey, is that you? It's like, nope, that's not me. I'm pretty sure it's one of my clients, but it is definitely not me.
Have we found out who it is yet, or is it?
No, I haven't reached out because I don't know. The news guy had called me and said, hey, do you can you tell me if these are helium or not? And I was like, dude, I don't want to go on the record with any of this stuff. What they're doing is pretty obviously wrong. It's putting stuff on public land without permission.
Exactly. I think everyone in the community has been very clear from the start that is up to yourself. Do not put it on without the land permission and landowner's permission. But some people will just do that, won't they?
Yeah. And certainly in the very early days, I was like, oh, I'm going to chuck this thing out there, and I put it out there for a couple days, but it immediately get found. And then it was at the same time that like the Gristle King thing was blowing up, and I was transitioning from just some dude that no one had seen or heard of to like, all right, this guy's a spokesman for this piece. Like, this is not the way to do this. So, yeah, it's interesting because I saw that certainly you see at least a year ago you see the great incentive to do that, but now there's no incentive and no great reason to do it. So, yeah. Let's see. Dave said no hotspots on Explorer, so unless they're misasserted. Oh, I guess they're trying to find these guys.
Yeah, they're trying to find out which hotspot it was, I think.
Yeah. I think when I talked to that guy, I don't think they knew that there was an Explorer app.
Right.
And so, yeah. Yeah, didn't know how to do it. So, I don't know. Like, that's something that, I mean, I think anyone who's been following this space has been expecting that kind of story to break for the last year. And I'm actually surprised it took as long as it did to do it.
It just surprises me that they don't want to work with the people that manage the land. You could definitely do projects with them to sense things in the area and put them there legitimately.
Yep.
So this doesn't happen, but
yeah,
they've just chosen to backpack it up there.
Yeah, 100%. And that's what I found is like if you just ask people for permission, I don't think I've had a single person say no. Right? And they generally don't care like what I'm doing. They're just like, oh, this guy seems super enthusiastic. He seems like he's got something that he's psyched on and maybe will be helpful for us. Oh no, I guess the county said no to the public trail counters. But as far as hotspots, I haven't had a single person say no that you can't put it on my land when I asked. So yeah. And I think to Sierra's point, like you can get grants for these things. You probably can't get a grant to buy hotspots. But if you can think of how you're going to use it, you can certainly get a grant to deploy a sensor network, and that's something you're going to see a lot of us doing in 2023, us as GK. So, yeah, lots of cool stuff. There's this project, Neil, I'm working on now. There's these pools called vernal pools, VERNAL, and they're pools in San Diego because it doesn't rain very much here. When it does rain, these things will fill up like, I don't know, maybe 10 inches deep. They're pretty shallow. And while they're filled up, there's this, I think it's called the fairy shrimp, but there's a specific shrimp that has its whole life cycle while there's water in this pool. And then it dries back up and the shrimp, whatever, goes back into hibernation and doesn't come out for a year. One of my buddies runs the project, or a big project monitoring these local vernal pools. And I reached out to him and I was like, hey, dude, do you want some help with this? I'd love to put some sensors in these pools and monitor water levels. And I was just doing it because this guy he's rad. He's a wild mountain dude, and he's been, super psyched about protecting nature for a long time. And he writes back, and I think I'd said like, hey, I can cover the sensor cost if it's pretty small. Like, I'm just curious about this thing. And he's like, dude, that would be so helpful. That would replace these expensive contractors who have to pay to hike into these places once every 2 weeks. And all of a sudden it's like, oh, maybe there's a business there. Maybe that's something more than just like me hiking around and having a good time in the backcountry. There's something there, and I think that's the thing. Is like you start asking people if you can help them. There's a lot of options that open up.
I've got to run to the door.
Yeah. Do your thing. Yeah, I got it. Let's see. I'll talk to you guys on the chat now. Now I can catch up on the chat. Tribal connectivity for anyone doing small cell deployments of Sierra stuff. Travis's leads. Yeah. So I think it's a funny thing is like for us in the helium space, we kind of know all this stuff. And as soon as this dude sent me the pictures, it's like, all right, well, it's a 915 antenna. It's a solar panel. It's a box. It's out on a mountain. Like, what else is it going to be? But from their perspective, and for those of you that watch the video, like they're kind of mystified by it. Like, we're trying to get to the bottom of this crazy mystery. Why are these solar towers out on the land? And how do we find what's going on with these things? And how do we prove whose it is? And I think that last part is the super tough part. What do you got, Max? Hang on a second. Stand by. Let me see if I can mute this thing. Max has got to tell me something top secret. I don't know if I can. It may be. Oh yeah, I can. Hang on a second. This is live stuff with Gristle King. Stand by. That was not as secret as I thought it was going to be. That I thought it was going to be super awesome, but it's just a thing. What else we got here? I'm cruising through the chat. I was mostly talking to Neil, so I didn't get to see a chance to say hi to a bunch of you. Good to see you, Ed. Good to see you, 619. Bobby, you're here, always with the 5G stuff. I like it. Siegfried, I think I talked a little bit about your stuff. Russ has workers on the time clock app. Russ, you've always got something rad.
Come in.
And you're seeing, oh, there's Max,
Max
yeah.
here in the background, hey.
The local killer. Network Bits, good to see you. Foam rocking that concept. Yeah, I think, well, like, this is one of the things is, look, is all of these things, all these different projects are starting to blow up right now. And it's just, it's important to be a part of all of them and see kind of what you can do with them and how you work with them and see how to be a part of all that stuff. Let's see, Network Bits, they can easily grab the SIM card in the device and ask the carrier who it belongs to. Yeah, totally, Network Bits. Like, this stuff is not that hard to figure out once you know where to look. It's just that a lot of these people don't know where to look. So, yeah, it's an interesting thing, but it's also like, that is not by a long shot the biggest important news. It's just the biggest like public news. I mean, I think probably you and me and everyone else in this space, we all got texts from our friends who are like, hey man, I saw this. Is this what you do? And you're like, well, kind of. So, Kevin, what's going on? Good to see you. What else is going on? I think we're going to see some more cool stuff from GeoNet coming out. Kevin and Max and I have been talking with them a bunch. And I think there's some super cool stuff. And I think what is really interesting about all these projects, including GeoNet, is that they're in frontier territory. And so we have this expectation as kind of, I don't know, like normal people. Is my computer plugged in? As normal people, like all of these things are going to work the first time and it's going to be totally perfect and nothing's going to go wrong. And if there's a mistake, they're easily going to, instantly going to fix it. And if they don't fix it, you sue them for $1 billion and all that stuff. And it's like, oh no, that's completely not how this works. All of these companies are doing something brand new, almost all of them for the first time. And so when they include something, even newer, whether that's like NFTs or location decisions or whatever it is, like you can expect that stuff's going to break. It's going to take a while. They're going to roll something back. Like that should be the expectation as you come in here and participate in this stuff. And yeah, that's kind of what we're seeing. Yeah, let's see, 619. Can you find that article that Neil wrote? It'll be on Medium. It's a Trackpac article, and drop it in the links. He just put it out. Maybe I can cruise through Discord and find it for you guys. I know Neil just put it in one of the chats that I'm in with him, and I read it today. And it was like there's the trilateration piece, and there's one other super cool piece to it, but I forget where he's dropped it. He might have dropped it into the Discord, or like another Discord channel. You good?
Should we show this?
What is it? Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. So this thing, let's see. Breaking news. This thing right here.
Yeah, we got this one too.
And this thing. These are the new Hive Mapper.
Demo.
Oh, sorry, Demo. Demo pieces of hardware. In fact, I should know that because it says Demo
on it. Yeah.
right on there. So if you have a current, one of the big Demo pieces right now, I think what's going to happen is they're going to start selling these to replace them.
Yeah, I think the little one
Yep.
plugs into the demo and it does LoRaWAN.
Okay, so this little one plugs into the Demo, does LoRaWAN, in case you didn't hear that. And then the bigger one is just going to be, it's got a little OBD port thing and does its own thing. Yeah, so I mean, they gave this to Max, and Max comes in, he's like, hey, did you see these things? I'm like, dude, how come I didn't get those things? But I think this is what we're going to see, is we're going to see, especially like when these hardware things come out, it's pretty exciting that they're moving that fast and developing these things and getting them out there. So let's see, smash the likes. Thank you, Kevin. Bomber, Network Bits. Someone move your directional antenna, okay. Sierra, latest Chromebooks are eSIM compatible. I didn't know that. I saw something in the Discord, one of the Gristle King Discords today about some USB thing that is like an entire like modem on a stick. Travis, I think you saw that as well. And then Sierra, moving from OBD2 to USB. No. I think you plug the USB thing into the current OBD piece, and then yeah, separate. There's like a delay on the chat on my end, so I see it like, I don't know, a minute after you post it. So it makes for funky combos sometimes. So let's see. The other stuff that I think we're going to see at CES is kind of all of this other hardware crap. So everything from like regular consumer devices to the latest, craziest stuff. I saw, Travis, there's a company called think RF that has a spectrum analyzer, and they had reached out to me. They're like, hey, come by and check this thing out. So I'll go see what's going on there in Radioland. And Kevin, wait, after a year of waiting for a demo device, now they have a new one. Yeah, I mean, I think this is like, that's what to expect in this space, man, is that things are going to move fast. It's not going to be Amazon. It's not going to be next day stuff. It's not going to be 2-day delivery. It's going to be like, hey, we've been working like crazy on this, and we don't do marketing because we do engineering, and here's the new thing. There's another device in here that I cannot show you, but I saw it, and it's rad, and I wish I could say a little bit more about it, but it's cool to see it, and it's by a company who cares kind of deeply about their devices and how they look and how they act and all the rest of that stuff. Oh, you can?
I don't know.
Okay, maybe we can't. But yeah, I think we're seeing all these people come up, and the hardware stuff is going to pop up kind of, occasionally, unexpectedly. And a lot of these, thank you, Devo. I saw you just posted that link for Trackpac. Rad. So it's there. Lee, I think you can see that as well, and I'll see if I can add that into the description at the end of this thing. But yeah, let's see. Ed, only the OBD2 port. Okay, you guys are still talking about that that thing. Let's see it. No, it's something I can't show. It's not mine, and B, I don't have permission to show it. But I looked at it and I thought it's pretty cool. I mean, we're seeing all these like crazy things happen across the space, so it's not like I'm the only one seeing secret stuff. It's just you come to these things and you see stuff that doesn't normally get seen, and that's probably part of CES as well. What else are we seeing, Max? I think what Max and I are seeing with all the consulting stuff is that there are a ton of companies who are entering into this space who really need help, right? Is that they've got the deep tech side down, like that's their expertise, that's what they're doing. But the tokenomic stuff is pretty hard. The incentive stuff is pretty hard. There's a lot of different aspects to adding a token to your project or making your project Web3. And I think the funny thing is all of us are kind of, not all of us, but a lot of people are sick of this whole Web3 thing. And it was probably overhyped last year, but I think we're going to see kind of real world application of Web3. That's going to be one of the dominant themes of 2023. So whether it's IoTeX or Tempest or what was the one we saw yesterday, Max, Riddle, RDDL?
Yeah.
Like all of these things, and are just like worth exploration and entering into the project and saying, look, any money I put into this, probably going to lose or could lose or whatever it is, but just kind of being on the radar with those folks. Hans Helium GPS trackers the side of a credit card is pretty cool. Yeah, what was that company? Nano Things, right? Fraser House up in Canada was showing me that thing on the train in Lisbon, Portugal. Yeah, we're going to see all kinds of crazy stuff today at CES and certainly this year. And the drive for a lot of these companies to tokenize in order to raise some capital, get some money in for it, is going to be pretty big. And so I think there's going to be an enormous opportunity for those of us who are kind of paying attention to this space. Just by paying attention, you'll have a pretty good head start on the rest of the world. Let's see. Sierra, you guys are having like a side convo I got to try to keep track of. Let's see. Great Gate Holder. Excited to see some of these real world proof of work projects take off. Yeah, the proof of work stuff is amazing. I think what Neil is doing with Trackpac when he gets back from his delivery, like signing the 900 signatures it must take. He must be chasing the delivery driver down with that stuff and seeing like, okay, to the point in the earlier part of the convo about like sometimes centimeter accuracy is super important. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you just need to be close enough, and it's more important to have a long battery life. So if you're in the space and you're thinking like, how do I interact with it? Some of it is just sitting around and thinking about how do you use this thing and where is this thing most appropriate, right? Like it's not appropriate to, maybe you make a list of like, here's a project that I have an idea for, and here's what this project needs. And if it's, as an example, like just vehicles driving around, like they probably need to be pretty accurate as far as where they are. But if it's tracking your dog in the wild, as long as you can get within, say, 50 meters of your dog, you can probably find the thing. Now, my wife Lee you'll yell at me for almost losing our dog a long time ago, and I was probably within 50 meters of him, but he just wandered off. But just thinking of this in that sense, like, hey, what's the project? What are the requirements for that project? And then how do I meet those requirements in the best way possible for that project? So whether it's long battery life or long distance or whatever it is, sometimes it's not that LoRa is always the best opportunity. Let's see. Kevin, I've got an IoT colleague that's telling me that a large sensor vendor is not recommending helium because they're having major problems because there are too many radios in cities. I haven't heard that, but yeah, maybe. I mean, what we saw, Kevin, the last that Neil talked about, and it came from Joey, was that we're seeing more non-helium traffic on the helium network, non-native helium traffic on the helium network than helium traffic. So maybe there's one vendor that's still super suspect about it. And I think I talked about this in the last show, but there's that one company that I've got these people counters for, and they're only now coming around to the idea that helium might be a real thing. So I think we're going to see a lot of that in 2023, is that companies are going to kind of wake up and figure out like, hey, this network is here, it works, it exists, it's super useful, and I'm going to jump on it. And I think the companies that do, in the early days, obviously it's going to be a pain in the ass, and they're going to have the same kind of problems that any other early project has, but they'll probably have an advantage, like hopefully you will if you're watching this, in being early to the whole project. There are too many sensors, Kevin? That doesn't make sense. Russ Thomas, rechargeable battery, 90-day charge. Oh, I must have missed something in the convo. Yeah, and interferences. It's so. I'm going to make like a really broad statement, is that interference is going to be more of a problem when you've got more kind of high-powered radios that are blasting a ton of data. And the way to think about this that is, factually incorrect but useful, is that you can have a ton of like small trails where one rabbit runs down the trail every hour. All those trails can be crisscrossing. That could be like a super dense network of trails, and no two rabbits are ever going to run into each other just because there's not that many rabbits. And there's so many trails, and rabbits are small, and they're kind of infrequent. Versus you can't build a ton of interstates that cross each other without on and off ramps, because you got thousands of cars blasting along all the time. There'd be a ton of accidents if you just tried to overlay a ton of giant interstate highways on top of each other. And that's probably the way to think about kind of LoRa versus Wi-Fi or CBRS, is that they're just two different kinds of things doing two different things. So I'd be surprised, Kevin. I mean, God knows I've been wrong enough, and my ignorance can be pretty stunning, but I'd be surprised if too many radios on the LoRa side in a city would be a problem. But I could be wrong. Travis might have a little bit more about that. Adrian Clint, POC traffic might be too loud in the U.S. in dense areas. Yeah. So that's an interesting point, Adrian, is that it's not the sensor traffic, it's the POC stuff. But actually, I think I could make a prediction here that I'm sure will get taken out of context, but I bet by the end of the year, the helium network is down to 200,000 or less hotspots that are online and active. I think a lot of hotspots that got put in for people who wanted to buy their Lambo are going to go offline. I think a lot of hotspots that put in for hosts, where the host put in a couple hundred hotspots, the host put in one hotspot, the fleet manager put in a couple hundred, and they're going to have to switch over to Solana. And the host is not going to do it. They're like, dude, I'm making 5 cents a month. I'm not doing anything for this thing. So I think we're going to see the network shrink considerably, and it's going to go from, you can't say this anymore, but it's going to go from like a big fat bloated pig to like a ripped and hard athlete, is what we're going to see this year. So obviously not the correct way to say that, but I think that's what's going to happen. And I think that is a really, really, really good sign. So the other thing I think has happened is the marketing side of it will be mishandled. We'll see a lot of kind of bullshit stuff coming out on Twitter, like, the helium network's dying. It's down to 200,000 hotspots. Like everyone's pulling out offline. It's like, no, that's not what's happening. What's happening is that there was, a gluttony event, and that gluttony event is being reversed, and now we're getting to be like an efficient powerhouse athlete kind of thing. So yeah, I think that's one of the things we'll see this year. Oh, we got Jason Greyhack guy. That guy knows what's going on with this chirp spectrum stuff and interference, but I'll let you guys have that side convo, because that's probably not something I can keep up with. Let's see. Last I heard, Capcom, this is Hans's comment. Last I heard, Capcom was saying that Wi-Fi would be able to participate in the mobile network. All right, I don't know anything about that, but cool. Max is giving me a yes grunt in the background.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I think the Wi-Fi stuff is like, that's where it's going to be. I don't know the CBRS stuff is going to go anywhere in the long term. I don't understand it. I wish someone would explain to me how this thing is going to work, as far as putting a bunch of CBRS antennas outside and competing with the actual telcos. I think we've gone, way away from the original promise, which is like, hey, these things need to go in underground bars and places where you don't get current signal. And what I've seen is that people, I don't know, generally didn't pay attention to that, put them up outside, and And now they're going to compete with the telcos, and those guys have millions of dollars and a lot of professional expertise, and they're probably going to crush you, you trying to play their game. So you have to think about this like this. You have to be a guerrilla here, right? And guerrillas who are out in the open trying to shoot down jets get airstrikes. But guerrillas who are down in the tunnels and, it's creeping around at night and placing little things and kind of doing small projects, they stay alive and they win wars. So that's kind of the way to think about this. I'm sure that will also get misquoted as well. So, great gate holder. I am the largest provider of CBRS. Look at Phoenix. Huh. Interesting. Is this gate holder thing from an Orson Scott Card novel, the Gate Master or Gate Mage, or is that something else? Hacking this and that. Yeah, I mean, I think I'm right on that, dude, but I don't know. And I haven't been able to find anyone who's like, no, dude, you're an idiot. You're missing this totally. So, yeah, I think that's a cool quote, using LoRaWAN brains in 5G and missing the boat. Yeah, totes. Sierra, what's this tribal nations thing? Is the way to go. I don't understand that. And Travis, of course, is talking about getting bunker busters for my gorilla example. Right on, Travis. Chad, Nick, do you have a guess on what will happen with VEHNT, and will you be staking? So I mean, we Max and I did that full savage. Staking is bullshit. With that said, I don't know what else to do with those tokens that I've got, that half validator. So I don't know. I don't know what I'll do. I'll probably do nothing. My default on that is going to be inaction because I have so many other projects. And I look at that, and this is the very unsophisticated way of looking at that, is that, look, if HNT goes up, I'm going to win no matter what. If it goes down, I'm going to lose that bet no matter what. So what I do with staking or not staking, probably not that big of a deal. Pretty unlikely that will happen super fast. So maybe staking's okay for me. And I think the general part of that staking is bullshit message is, look, just be careful and kind of know what you're getting into and know the... What was it? What'd you call it, Max? It's not the liquidity something problem? Liquidity
premium.
Liquidity premium. Yeah, it's just make sure you understand at least that concept. And then it's not like all staking is bad, just I think most of it is bullshit. So no giant guesses on that, Chad. I'll basically kind of continue to support the Helium network in whatever way I can with the resources I have. I think it's probably the best piece. Kyle Joseph, I'd love to see more marketing activity for Laura in the logistics industry. I would also like to see that, Kyle. And if you know of any companies that need help with marketing, let me know. I'd love to help them out. Although I'll tell you what, the consulting thing I think is going to be much bigger on the blockchain meat space side, so I may not have a ton of time for that. Sierra put in just a bunch of dollars. Sarah, you're going to have to explain that to me. I want to know what this tribal nations thing is. Usually I have pretty good ideas, and you're usually pretty connected. Let's see, Hans. Wi-Fi is better indoors. CBRS can work outdoors in certain geographic locations. Expense and SaaS issues make it a niche solution. Yeah. Yeah. Let's see. Okay, I'm just reading through the comments here. I can see a couple of you guys are having these kind of side combos. Yeah, maybe I'll get Elmo back on and ask him what he thinks about this, because he had explained it to me, and I thought when he explained it to me, A, that dude knows what he's talking about, B, he's doing this in real life and kind of running stuff, and C, my memory of that conversation is that he had said, like, hey, this needs to go in, inside, like, indoor malls and underground bars and that stuff. I don't think he's doing, or what was the other one? Like, maybe providing backhaul, him and Rollinson. I know Jeremy had done a bunch of stuff with, like, backhaul for outdoor events. So, maybe that's where to put 5G. But then there's the thing, like, if someone doesn't have the card, if they don't have the SIM card, the Helium SIM card, they can't use it. Right? It's not like it goes both ways with T-Mobile. It's not like if you have a T-Mobile card, you can roam onto Helium. It's only that if you have a Helium card, you can roam onto T-Mobile. Now, if that turns around, that's enormous news. But it hasn't turned around yet. So, and I think that, the funny thing here is, like, is that there's a lot of focus on 5G, and it's like, dude, do not let the LoRa opportunity slip you by. With sensors, with building hardware, with supporting that, with selling sensor services, with selling services around sensors, like that, I think is where the biggest opportunity is. I think almost in telling you that, like, I'm giving up certainly some of my kind of competitive advantage, but I think the market is so big it doesn't matter, right? Like the biggest pie chunk I can fit in my mouth is akin to the size of my mouth versus the size of the hotel that I'm in, which is it's a giant hotel. There's multiple towers. So yeah, you can do your level best there, and we probably won't see each other as competitors for another 2 to 5 years. So yeah, do Laura stuff. I think that's going to be the way it goes. Ripping, there will be an eSIM card. Yeah. I think, you know, in the long term, we might see this stuff go down and be much easier to use. But I don't know. Short term, I think like, hey, here's this thing that the example I gave with the vernal pools earlier on. Like I stumbled on it. I was talking to a buddy about some, you know, how sensing something that he's doing might be interesting to both of us, and all of a sudden, like, oh, looks like there might be a little business there. You know, probably not enough to pay off my house, but that's not how businesses always work. You can start them small, start them low key, and I think that's the really cool thing with this thing is that sensors don't cost that much. You know, no one's going to ask you to put up 200 grand to start a business. You can probably start a business with, I don't know, I bet you could do it with $400 or $500 and do a pretty good job, and you could probably do it with $100 and do a good job if you are willing to learn a little bit about it. All right, Kyle Joseph, huge lore opportunities with utilities, state, local govs. Sierra, these areas are historically resistant to working with the big three. They're also areas that geographically make up the literal digital divide. If you look at the new FCC broadband maps, it's clear. Nope, I missed the train on that one. I just don't understand the rest of the context there. FCC maps need a lot of work. Good starting place. Okay, you guys are talking about maps on the 5G stuff. And Travis, rising tide lifts all boats. Yep. Yeah. One of my favorite sayings, that and a ship is safest in a harbor, but that's not what ships are for. So get out there and sail that boat and check out and see where that thing can take you. And I think so. Let's see. Dirk and I did that thing in December, the blog post on how to automate your home with helium. We're going to be doing more of those things, and I think what we're going to do is share basically like the growth of that sensor business along the way. And I've got a name for that, got a website for that, just stood that up the other day. I will release that when that is ready to go out, but I think you're going to see at least a GK owned kind of LoRa engineering sensor as a service business come to life in 2023. Oh, she's talking about tribal nations? Okay, that makes more sense. Thank you, Lee. You'll need to read one post above of Sierra, then you'll understand. So this is the tribal nations. Okay, tribal nations are historically resistant to working with the big three. That makes way more sense. Yeah. Yeah, maybe that's the play there too, is to cruise over and talk to those folks. Yeah. I don't know much about that. I worked on a construction project, like rebuilding houses after some fire at a local reservation here in San Diego. But that was, 15 years ago. So that is the extent of my interaction with any kind of tribal nation stuff. Well, no, I got one other crazy story about tribal nations in Vegas, but probably not appropriate for this show. Super cool. Elmo disagrees on what CBRS is competitive indoors or vice versa. I think Hans, and I don't know if you're talking to me, but I think Elmo's position, I gotta be careful to say that I think this is what his position is, not that it's what it is, because he can speak for himself. But I think that CBRS is has a super niche space, and in that space it's really good, but outside of that application it's not that great. And that application is like where there isn't other great coverage, where you have to absolutely offload extra connectivity to CBRS. Like there's like these little really kind of very narrowly defined areas where CBRS is going to work, but yeah. I don't think it's for everybody, and I think that super cool idea of, what was that Hack's comment, like we're using LoRaWAN brains for 5G, and that's not going to work. That's bringing what is that? It's like bringing an F1 race car to try and move your house. Like it's gonna be super inefficient. Cool. Well, it's 9:45. I don't know that there's a ton extra that I've got for today. Is there anything else you guys want to hit? Because otherwise, I'm going to cruise out and go see all of these people. And I'm already hoarse from yelling at folks last night in the bar, trying to help conversations. So if I don't have to talk for another 15 minutes, that's super helpful to me. But if you guys have any other questions, drop them in the chat and I'll answer them. Otherwise, we'll close this thing out in the next couple of minutes. And if there's anything you want to see at CS or any booth you want me to walk by, drop a note in Discord or anything. Put it on the contact side on Crystal King's site, whatever it is. If you want Max and I to do something on Full Savage, that show that we've been putting out those like 2 to 4 minute little shows, trying to explain some of the concepts that we're coming across. Let me know. But yeah, we'll do the best we can to support your kind of continued learning. So Find out how many people know about helium on CES. Okay, cool. I'll totally ask that, Siegfried. Cool. Yep, I'm just seeing some audioses and cleaning up of conversations in the side chat. And tribal lands have licensed spectrum. Oh, that's pretty interesting, Sierra. Okay, so that's the angle. Yep. What you reported on that SF trade show sounded dire. Yeah, I don't know if it's dire, Siegfried. I think it's just they don't know it. Like, I'd look at it as like it's a giant opportunity. It's like walking by. Here's what it's like. It's like walking by, I don't know if these even exist, an open pit gold mine. And your job is to get a wheelbarrow, right? If you just grab a couple handfuls of gold and walk off, and you leave, 10,000 tons of gold like in the sun, you're missing the opportunity. So it's like, yeah, just the infrastructure isn't built yet to take the gold from one place to another. So where are the crypto projects located at CS? I don't know. They're all over the place, dude. People were walking up to me yesterday. There's like a billion different booths here, so I got to go find those things. But yeah, I'll cruise around and find them. Red Sky Raccoon, what's up? I think it's Nikki. Big ups. Yep. Cool. All right, guys. I'm gonna take off. Good to chat with you today. We're gonna cut this one a little bit short, but rock and roll. Have a ripping week, and I will see you next time on State of the Network next Friday. I think this is the first one we've ever done that is short. See you guys later. Ciao, ciao.